We are back. Welcome to Lobby Concessionals, the movie podcast where nobody's right and everybody's wrong. I'm Parker. That is usually Brendan. But we are welcomed today by Alison. Say hi to the fans at home.
Hello. Thanks.
Okay. Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it sounds like you're nailing this.
Yeah.
If you're liking what we're putting out, like and subscribe. Follow us along on our YouTube channel, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Podcasts, on any of a dozen other various podcast platforms, or on our social media. All the links of which should be below if Brendan is doing his job. Today, we're doing a After the Credits episodes where we're taking a look at recent stuff that we have watched and seen and read and thought about.
Enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily enjoyed, actually. That's
okay.
You know,
engaged with.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my opportunity to just spew whatever garbage opinion I want to this week. That's why we brought Alison on board, so that you don't have to listen to just me.
And so
Alison.
Brendan can take a break from your garbage. Is that someone else can suffer for?
Like it's a non-zero part of it for
Right,
sure,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. That has some weight. So it's been a bit since we've done these. It's probably been, I think it's been a month now. We ended up missing one due to we were on vacation, and then Brendan got sick, and then either one or the other has been out of the country, and it's a whole disaster. But Brendan isn't here because of also being sick again. So good. Allison, in the last month, I guess we haven't seen you on the show for like 6 weeks probably, but
Yeah, it's been a while.
let's say in the last month,
Yeah.
we'll try and keep it contained.
Okay.
What have you watched?
So it was the Queen of England's Jubilee, 70th Jubilee, Platinum, this past weekend. And so a couple friends and I went.
Sorry, for context, June what?
Oh, sorry.
2nd, 3rd? I just want to know for
June 4th and 5th.
4th and 5th. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It was like a 4-day celebration, but so we decided to watch Downton Abbey, The New Era, which is the second movie.
There's 2?
Yeah, so they had 6 seasons of a TV show and then 2 films now.
Wow.
Yeah, which was great because like the first film, you could have wrapped it up. Like it could have been done at the end, but there was definitely a couple of things that they did a lot of the upstairs. So it's like the upper class is the upstairs and then the servants are the downstairs.
Sorry, hold up really quick.
Yeah.
As someone that has never seen the show,
Right.
They couldn't have wrapped it up after 6 seasons?
Well, like they could have, but like there's always more. It's about life, right? So like unless everyone on the show dies, you've still got more to go for, right? There's still other things happening in their lives.
But it doesn't feel like they're grasping at straws?
The second one felt like they truly wrapped it up. Like
Sorry, this most recent one.
Yeah, this most recent movie feels like it's truly a conclusive story.
Okay.
Like I feel like everyone has an ending to their path kind of thing. So that's quite nice. I think if they make a third movie, they're pushing it. Like it would be rough.
So you, as a hardcore Downton Abbey fan,
Yeah, love it.
would not be interested in the third?
I think it would be very hard.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I'd watch it, but it would be it would definitely
Talk about creative integrity, right?
Well, like I want to see how they would do it, but I think it would be really hard to make a good movie.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sorry, but the second one was good. You really enjoyed it.
Yeah. There was a lot of great things. It felt like it was a revisit to that world. Like it just it fit so well. Like I don't see there was like I could be nitpicky. There was a couple of things, but like overall, it just felt really wholesome and wonderful to go back to.
That's good.
Downton, yeah.
How long has it been?
Well, sorry, I'm not even sure when the first movie came out. It's been a few years.
But like the show ended, then the first movie, and then this one.
Yeah, so
Okay.
show ended in 2015, I think.
Okay.
And then a movie a couple years later, and then another couple years.
Okay.
And yeah.
So they're pacing it pretty decently if they're gonna, keep making films. So
Hopefully not.
well, yeah, but like if they were, like at the
Yeah,
very least, they are. It's not like they're just pounded them out immediately.
No, they were quite good. Yeah, they gave it a break, but we want more. Except not anymore. Except stop now. We wanted more, and then now we're good.
Well, as someone that again has never seen it, I want more than anything for this conversation to be over.
Yeah. Thanks.
What else have you seen, Alison?
Most recently, TV wise, I watched the Stranger Things season 4.
That's what you should do: is come on the movie podcast and talk about two TV related at the very least projects.
Sorry, I didn't know we were so specific with what this podcast was.
No, tell me about Stranger Things. I'm stoked about it. As eagle-eye viewers can notice by my shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I want to talk Stranger Things.
Okay. Did you want to?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, very excited. I think I was honestly after the 3rd season sort of disenchanted by it.
I totally get that.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it was I don't think the 3rd season was bad. I don't really have a oh, that was an amazing season and I can't wait to watch the 4th season. It was just oh yeah, I can't Stranger Things season 4, great. Let's watch it kind of idea.
Yeah.
And so not a bad feeling about watching the next season, but just not as I have to watch it immediately and let's go.
I think there might have been an oversaturation aspect, and even there wasn't even that much saturation,
No.
but it could have just been the timing, because I was a huge fan on this first season.
Mm-hmm.
I told everyone and anyone I could about that show for sure.
Yeah.
And then second season was the same. Obviously it became a worldwide phenomenon, so it wasn't like I was telling people about a thing that they already knew existed, right?
Yeah.
But I still like to wave my I was an original. I was a true fan,
Of course.
because I happened to just find it on Netflix. I think it was literally the day it came out, and by chance I was like, oh sure, I'll give it a shot, and then watched the first, I think, 3 or 4 episodes that night and went, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And decided again to yell at everyone I knew about it. And so now, as far as I'm concerned, I created Stranger Things.
Right.
So you're all welcome is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for me,
Oh my goodness.
it wouldn't have become the worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah. That's it.
No, but truly, I found by the 3rd season, I was excited, and I watched the season and enjoyed it, and had a good time, and it didn't even feel like there was any sort of drop in quality. But I don't remember finishing it being actively stoked about another one.
Yeah, I just there was something that just didn't quite. Yeah, didn't overwhelm or make it something you wanted to talk about forever, or
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think they just kind of nailed the timing with this, because for me, I didn't have a lot exactly on my list, and so there was I always have lots on the list, but nothing that was really new or too exciting right this moment, and I was like, yeah, definitely Stranger Things, let's go. And then was head over heels, absolutely in love with the thing again. It took no time. And this was a long season. It's not even done.
No.
And there's 7 episodes out, and I believe it's still 10 hours of content.
Yeah. Because some of them are feature-length film episodes. It was an hour and a half, I think, was the 7th episode. So,
I thought there was even one slightly longer than that. I thought we were at an hour 45, but even so, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's a huge, I saw a couple reviews that talked about the length and how they were upset about it. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason to be upset about it, because I felt the pacing was perfect. I didn't have an issue with length.
Yeah. For someone like me who has a very specific bedtime, and so when I go to watch a show that I think is going to be an hour, and it turns out to be an hour and 45, I could see being a little upset. Or oh, I've got an hour and 15 minutes before I have to go to work, and this show should be an hour long or something, right? Like, I sort of get that.
So, like, how dare they make you look at the duration of the episode when you click the play button?
Yeah. Well, no, because I'm prepared to watch it, and then now I can't. Or I have to
or
pause,
you will.
Which is terrible. Yeah, or I'll be late for my bedtime in this case, or late to work for whoever other people. But, no, but I think we've talked about this before with Netflix being able to have whatever episode length they need. And I do really appreciate that. And especially, I think, for Stranger Things, it just, I'd like to rewatch it to see if I still feel that way on a rewatch. But it felt like it needed that time.
I agree.
And it was nice to not have to cut it for a specific time frame, so that they could just tell the story the way that it needed to be told and have the breaks when they needed the breaks. Right?
Yeah.
So that I do really appreciate that, but it is something, you might want to be aware of before you get into it, right?
Yeah. I don't think so. I truly think that was a phenomenal cinematic experience. Like, as far as I'm concerned, sit down, shut up, watch the thing, you know? And I found it was compelling enough and it drew me in enough that I didn't even need to worry about the time. You know, like, as a person that has a hard time watching things at home sometimes, I had no issues not looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, oh, God.
This season is very engaging, and I think it's scary. Like, this season to me is way scarier than the previous seasons.
I've heard this a couple times from a few people, and I don't know if I agree. Like, I found there's clearly been horror elements involved in every single season of Stranger Things. This one has, like, it's definitely more slasher inspired. I think this is the slasher season, if any of them were.
Yeah, like more gruesome aspects, and so I think that makes it, like, to me that's more horror. Like, I think the first season was a lot of unknown, right? So it's scary because you don't know what's coming, or you don't know what the bad thing is. Whereas now we sort of have an idea. We're still obviously figuring things out, but this was more, just like gore. Yeah.
Yeah, there
I
was,
think that's
again,
the best. Yeah.
slasher elements. I saw some guy online that mentioned that each season has been inspired by a particular something. I think movie. I think it's movie each time.
Genre.
But the season number 1 is E.T. Very E.T. inspired.
Yeah.
Number 2 is, oh my God, I am going to lose number 2. Oh, number 2 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, okay.
Fourth kind? Third kind, I think. Oh man, I'm gonna get roasted for this.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and number 4 is Nightmare on Elm Street. And this one is the most gratuitous, to a point where, like, Dustin literally says it in an episode.
Right.
Like, he literally mentions Freddy Krueger and then actively explains it.
Right.
So, like, they were really on the nose with this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was wowed. I think the guy, and oh man, I should have looked up his name. But the newest cast member, Eddie, was extremely well done too.
Yeah.
He is, frankly, I'm amazed that they put someone alongside Steve Harrington, or, like, I guess actually I know his name, Joe Keery.
Yeah.
And he managed to be as charismatic.
Yeah.
Like, given that we've had 4 seasons to get to know Steve, and he's had such a great arc.
Yeah.
Seeing Eddie actually hold his own in a scene was awesome.
So great.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And that hair.
Yeah. If Eddie was in my school, like, I would have had such a big crush on him. Like, like, I love Steve now, but he definitely wouldn't have been my type. But Eddie's just,
right up there for you, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nerdy,
checks a lot of boxes.
Kind of crazy.
Interesting. Good to know. Noted.
And he's, the actor's British, so, like,
I think a number of them are, actually.
We're great.
I can't remember for a
is.
fact, but I thought Keery was too. Joe Keery. Steve.
I don't think so.
Is he not? Okay. Anyway, again, goes to show that maybe I should come to this podcast prepared every once in a while.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, if I didn't have to run it, that'd be awesome.
You done? I'm going to go back a bit because I never had an opportunity on the podcast because of how things worked out to talk about Doctor Strange. Now, I would typically ask if you've seen it, but I actually, in this case, saw it with you.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask that question, but I'm still going to give people a little bit of a chance to maybe pause the video if they don't want to hear spoilers about Doctor Strange. As we've talked about before, I'm a big Marvel guy, so obviously I enjoyed it. I was really excited about some of the Sam Raimi stuff, and then I found all of the very specific Sam Raimi isms that were in the film disappointed me. Or maybe not quite all. There was a couple horror, I don't know, but campy horror kind of stuff that was very clearly Evil Dead or Drag Me to Hell kind of stuff. The notable one that really stands out to me is Wanda crawls out of that mirror at America at one point. I think about halfway through the film, and that felt good. Like I was really, I was stoked to see that. It looked creepy and it was perfect, and I think they did it really, really well. But there was a few others. In particular, I found his scene transitions are just brutal, and it's been like that for forever. I find he has a tendency to use really like kind of basic film school techniques, and it shows, and it comes across cheap in my opinion.
I find them just so jarring, and I think that's the biggest thing. And actually that was some, like at the beginning of the Downton Abbey movie, there was a couple jarring scene changes where it just cuts. And
oh, really?
I found Sam Raimi did that. Like there was just a moment where it go black and go to the next scene. And it was just sort of this jarring moment where it didn't really fit. Like I didn't feel like it enhanced, or it wasn't a moment to sort of to jar you.
Yeah, totally.
In like a horror aspect or in a suspense aspect.
Just throw you off at all, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, it felt like a bad cut.
Yeah, they just done a bad scene change.
Yeah. And so so it sort of pulled me out for a moment where I had to be like, oh, okay, we're back.
Yeah, there's a couple of those for sure. And that kind of stuff I wasn't super stoked on. And like, frankly, it pulled me out enough personally that I think, like, I don't know if I would ever want to see Sam Raimi do a franchise film again.
Yeah.
I think especially with a Marvel film, because they're so polished and because they're so sleek, I guess, or no, cookie cutter is probably a little bit cruel, but their cookie cutter, it feels out of place. You know, like there is a way that these films have been shot historically, and the fact that it just very specific moments of it aren't that way, it feels wrong.
Well, and I think even if you take that aspect, it needs to be something drastically different. So it can't be like, I think Sam Raimi is trying to fit it into the Marvel franchise with his own spin, right?
Sure.
Like which everyone's going to do.
Yeah.
But
and they should do.
Yeah. But if you are going to make it your, like, truly your own, maybe go the insane route. Like, go outside of that cookie cutter. Like, really go the far side, right? So, and I think that's what, like, initially they had been talking about this horror film.
Yep.
And it was quite, I don't know, thriller-y at points. And there were some, like, horrific aspects during the film, for sure. So, like, but it just didn't feel, it felt like it still wanted to fit in when it should have just gone and been excluded almost.
Well, and there was 0% chance they were ever going to do a true horror movie, unfortunately. And like Scott Derrickson, the director of the first one, and the he started as the director for this one. Yeah. And then was
for Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah. For both Doctor Strange films, and then he was let go because of creative differences.
Because he wanted to make it a true.
He wanted to make a horror film, and that's how he had pitched the first one.
Right.
And it's disappointing because basically they said to him, "No, like, prove yourself," and he was like, "Fine, I'll show you I can make this movie the way you want me to make it, and then you can let me make the movie I want to make." And then they still didn't let him do that, which sucks. And granted, I don't know if he would have been able to pull off a horror movie that would have satisfied.
Yeah.
But it is zero, like, it's not a surprise at all that they decided not to go ahead with a horror movie. I
Yeah.
get it. Like, that's not the audience. But you hope when you get someone like Sam Raimi that we get a little bit more of what Taika managed to do with the MCU, where it truly does feel like his own creation.
Yeah.
Brendan and I have talked about this before, about how when you truly get artists involved in the MCU and let them do their own thing, it shows.
Yeah.
That Thor Ragnarok is a great example, but the Russell brothers did a lot with Captain America, and definitely took Captain America in a different direction than I believe his name is Joe Johnston, the director of Captain America: The First Avenger.
Oh.
He had a very different take, and it feels different.
Yeah.
And then what the Russell brothers did with the next two Captain America films, and then the two Avengers films, like, it still does feel like their movies. Like, they still obviously still feel very MCU, very Marvel, but I think some of those people put their stamps on it, and I just wish, I don't know. I guess you're right. I wish Sam either really did, and it was very distinctly a Sam Raimi film,
Yeah.
or he just didn't at all.
Yeah.
Because
that's also my other thing, is I feel like he hasn't really evolved as a director.
Yep.
And
I can see it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's I think it's great to have your style and to continue that style and to have it throughout decades. Like, that's totally fine, but it just didn't. Yeah, it didn't fit. Maybe just with my perspective now on films, now that I've been able to watch a lot more.
Yeah.
It's not 2001 Spider-Man, or was that right? 2002? I don't know.
You may have nailed it. You did right.
Somewhere around there.
Plus or minus.
Yeah. Like, it's not that era anymore. So maybe I've changed and Sam Raimi is totally fine doing the same thing. But it was not different enough, but then a little bit too different to fit.
Yeah.
It was kind of,
So the other thing I want to talk about with Doctor Strange was the big, massive spoilers. So some people were upset about the cameos and stuff. Personally, I liked them. I liked the casting, and I liked the throwback. I like that we get to see Haley Atwell in there again as Captain Carter. It's awesome. I think it was cool that Anson Mount got another run at being Black Bolt. Yeah. No one saw that show, like Inhumans, so I'm glad they felt he was good enough to bring him back for this moment to die. And it was great to see Patrick Stewart as a different version of Professor X. And then obviously Krasinski. Now, Brendan and I need to have this discussion at some point, because we already have had this discussion over text, and he has some good points to make. But either way, it was great to see all those people, especially because it implies that they are going to be maybe cast in those roles again in the future when we see those characters come back. But I think my biggest disappointment with the whole movie, outside of the Sam Raimi stuff, is what they ended up doing with Wanda. I just think that they left her in such a good place, and they gave her such a good arc in WandaVision. And then a lot of this feels like maybe not a betrayal, but a betrayal of that. And this isn't quite as nuanced, and it's like, oh, well, she just murdered a bunch of people, and we have to be kind of okay with that.
Well, again, it's this, she seemed more of an Avenger, like they were pushing towards her being. And then, WandaVision's a setback for her, trying to come to terms with what she's lost. And then we get to this movie, and it's like WandaVision didn't happen. But also it did happen, because it has to further the plot of this movie. But it's as if, like, none of the character development from the film or from the TV show had come into this plot. And I think that's a little bit of it. Like, the characters didn't feel like they were understood for the whole arc.
Well, and so I did some digging online. People have pointed out the fact that she has the MacGuffin for this movie, for context, is called The Dark Hold, and it's a dark sorcery book that Wanda ends up getting. And there is multiple references made throughout the film that it corrupts people. So,
Right.
it is reasonable to look at it as, well, she was corrupted by the Darkhold, the thing that does the corrupting.
Yeah.
So therefore, she's still the same person underneath. She is being corrupted by evil magic.
Yeah. But like, then sort of show that, I guess, that
Well,
corruption. Like, it seemed too instantaneous.
So I guess the argument is they did with Stephen. There was alternate versions of
Right.
Stephen that were corrupted by the Darkhold. So they do some of that. But I don't know if it's done well enough. Like, so that's where I agree with you, is the fact that you are leaving this movie after they talk about it kind of constantly and you still feel like they haven't done a good enough job. Guys, what did you do? Like, you dropped the ball here, because you have, intelligent moviegoers walking out and still not understanding exactly what you were trying to do with this character.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason we never understand it is because it's not Wanda's movie.
Yeah.
Is that she's effectively not even a point of view character. Like, we don't see why she's doing things. She's the character we're reacting to.
Yeah.
And so not being able to even get a little bit of her internal thought process makes it tough.
Yeah. She's the one that she's told us her villainous plan, and that's the perspective that we get. Yeah. And I think that's part of it too. And that's how I felt with, I liked the first Doctor Strange film, but I just don't feel like Doctor Strange is that strong of a character in his own films. Like, I feel like he's not really the guy that we're following. We're following the people who are interacting with Doctor Strange.
So who are you thinking we're following in this? Like, is it America Chavez, or you mean Wanda?
Like America or Wong, yeah, like basically anyone else. But Doctor Strange shows up and like he's there to help, kind of idea. So I just don't feel like he has that power in his own film, which is weird to me.
That's very interesting.
And especially because I think Benedict Cumberbatch is a good actor, and I think he does the character well. From, like, I haven't read any of the comics, but I think he seems good. So and as a powerful actor himself, I think it's very strange that he doesn't command, like, I feel like they don't know what to do with him. They're like, you're a powerful sorcerer, but we're just gonna put you on the side here.
Well, there is always an element of that they kind of make up things for him to, or make up things for him to try. Every movie. So like in Spider-Man, for instance, he tries out this memory reversal spell, and there's even a throwaway joke about them having used it before to make Wong forget about a party. But they never do that in Multiverse of Madness. Like, Wanda's issue is the fact that she is obsessed with her kids, but make her forget the kids. Like, we didn't even try that, So stuff like that, they're just going to throw stuff at them and be like, yeah, I guess you can do this now. So I think some of it is intrinsic to the character. Like, they did that in the comics for forever, that they just forget he could do these other things, or they come up with some reason why he's no longer able to, I get it. It's going to be that way a little bit, but it is very interesting that you don't think he like the character can command a presence on screen. Yeah,
and maybe it's just not, like, I liked him in Infinity War, and so I don't. Yeah, it's just something about him. He's not the main guy.
In the before we get off this topic too, one of our more recent guests, CJ, had mentioned to me that his oh man, this is a whole chain. CJ's fiance mentioned that she was really upset about how Wanda's whole motivation is her children, and so the feeling that, okay, well, if a woman doesn't have kids, then she no longer, like, she has nothing to live for, sort of like that's how Wanda comes across in this. And I've never thought about it that way, given that I am not a woman.
Wait, what?
But it's a really good point of, man, we kind of taken her down a notch. Like, it's weird that she's motivated now exclusively by one thing.
Mm-hmm. And like, I'd like to expand that, believing that it's a connection to Vision. It's something about, like, a connection to family, because she's lost all of her family, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, having children is this connection of like, these are my blood, these are my family kind of idea. So I sort of see that, but it also, is strange to me. Like, is there not a world with vision that you could also go to? Is it just your kids? Why? Like, what's the
logic falls apart in a lot of these movies when you really pick at it, for sure.
You dig that. But I think, I don't have children, so obviously, like, I think there is a passion that you have when you have a connection with something that's your living, breathing, like something you've created, right?
She had kids for like 4 days, in fairness. And she didn't even give birth to them.
Was it 4 days? It felt like decades. She gave birth to them. She carried them for a day. She was pregnant.
Oh, she was. Yeah. But
like,
I guess my point is that it's a little bit different than, like literally going through body changes in a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like she literally, I don't know. I've never got to know anyone in the context of 5 days that makes me care about them that much.
Wow. No, that's true. Yeah, that you would like kill other people to have in your life. Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that argument with it is a very singular mindset of like female nurture, like we are the ones that look after the children and we are the ones that are so connected and we're the ones that would die for them, right? Like that kind of aspect, but they need to make her crazy somehow, so
well, and that's a good point too. It's just that at the end of the day, I enjoyed the movie. It feels like I've just been dumping on it, but I did enjoy the movie, and I did like the fact that we got to see, like, they found some way for to give us Wanda attacking the Avengers in a way that was, theoretically had consequences. It doesn't, because it was a different universe, but we can pretend. Yeah.
And I like to see her using crazy abilities, because I think that was always the question, like, how powerful is she? What is she capable of? And so I think that was really cool to see sort of some of that tested and see some of those limits or the potential that she has. But again, is that going to come up later? Is she going to be around later? Yeah, like what's the plan here, guys? You just gave me what I wanted, but then now.
Well, and they're going to nerf her the second that she's against someone bad again. The second she comes back to the good, she will no longer be as powerful. Like Wanda in Multiverse of Madness could very easily have killed Thanos. And I understand that some of that's the Darkhold too, but like we weren't at that point. Like she wasn't anywhere near this strong.
No. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to stop yelling about Doctor Strange.
Okay.
I did want to switch gears a bit and discuss Top Gun Maverick.
So literal gears.
And I have historically, or I have famously not been a fan of the original. Or not a huge fan. I think it's overrated.
Yeah.
There's good bits to it for sure, but I think that there's a lot of tension that just doesn't exist in that movie. They don't really have everything that happens in that movie is sort of happening to them. There's no real point to a lot of it. Like the problem they're trying to fix through most of the film is who is going to be number one in class.
Yeah, it's training. I didn't feel like they were really doing.
There's no stakes.
Yeah, like an actual mission.
Yeah. And so even when they, because I think the big climax is they have a couple Russian MiGs that show up, and they have to like deal with that. But even then, I found myself thinking, well, yeah, but you guys are training. Like, why don't you call some actual fighter pilots to come in here and save the day? People that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like it seemed really strange to me that was just never even
addressed.
Yeah, like never optioned. Like if I was on my first week at school and an actual threat occurred, I would want my supervising someone to handle that problem. Like I am here to learn, not to die.
The spreadsheet isn't auto-summing. What do I do?
Okay, first of all, I know how to solve that problem. And secondly, do not compare my real world job to what we're discussing here. How dare you? But I loved it. I think that the Top Gun Maverick improved in every way beyond the original. Like all of my little issues, they are not a problem with Top Gun Maverick. It is, first of all, an incredible sequel. Secondly, as far as I'm concerned, the best Top Gun movie. I understand there's only 2, but still. Thirdly, it's an incredible popcorn movie. Like I don't think we've seen a true popcorn blockbuster flick like this for like quite a few years. And then on top of that, it's got my boy Tom Cruise. Yeah. So, and remarkably, he decides to go shirtless in a beach scene as a 60-year-old man with a bunch of 20-somethings, maybe 30, like early 30s, depending on who we're talking about. But like that was impressive. There's definitely a shot of him you get that you kind of get a look at him like full on, and it's like, oh, that's still the belly or the chest of a 60-year-old that is in extremely good shape. And like, do not misunderstand, he is in exceptionally good shape, better shape now than I will be in my entire life. But still, it does show, it's like, oh, okay, good. His age exists. Like this is something that's actually impacting him in a kind of negative way.
Yeah.
Man, the confidence on that guy to get beyond, like, because he's a producer on it too. He could have cut the shot.
Or like, I'm wearing a shirt.
Yeah. And that would have been perfectly reasonable because he still looks great all the time anyway. Oh, man.
I know. That was a great beach scene.
An incredible beach scene.
It should have just kept going, really. That should have been most of the movie.
Oh, man. Well, and that's my argument with the first one, is that if the first movie is basically, if the linchpin of that first movie is the volleyball scene, and then it transitions to a love story about Maverick and Goose, that's the movie I want to see. Yeah. That's a far better film than what we got. Yeah. But no, that beach scene, like the fact that they put the Miles Teller, I think someone called it something recently, the Rooster Shuffle or something, because his name is Rooster, like his call sign's Rooster. Yeah. But the fact that that's in the trailer and then it's still just as satisfying when you're watching it in the theater is a testament to what Miles Teller has done on the screen there.
Yeah, those acting chops. I mean, who?
He's actually incredible. I love that guy.
He is.
And he looks great with that mustache.
He does. Usually I'm not really a fan of mustaches. Like, some people can pull them off, obviously, but younger people too, especially, I think. It's just a weird choice.
Tends to be tough.
Yeah, but no, he did a really good job. I was worried the first couple of stills I saw when it was first being promoted ages ago. I was like, oh, I don't know. He doesn't really look like Goose. Like, it's not the same, or it's hard or whatever. And then in the movie, you're like, no, this is perfect. Works out.
Yeah, and I didn't actually have, like, I'm bad with some of that stuff anyway. Like, and obviously, given the fact that they are not literally related, it's hard. It's a hard sell. But I didn't actually have much of an issue visually. Like, I honestly think they look pretty good. Yeah. Kind of the whole time. Like, and there's a couple key moments that they do very intentionally to set up parallels. Yeah. But those are just pulled off quite well. That I think it kind of that does a lot of the heavy lifting for it. You know.
But yeah, overall, I think the same thing. I was actually like stressed at points.
Yeah.
And like, because I think that was the big thing with the first film as well. The original Top Gun, I didn't get that this is a life or death situation. Totally. Like, I didn't feel as concerned, which I know I still probably should have. But I guess too, like, I watched it late. I didn't watch it when it came out.
Yeah, and same with me.
Yeah, so maybe that was it. Like, maybe it would have been more impactful then. But this one, it just, I could feel the pressure and I could feel the intensity. And so normally I'm a let's rewatch movies immediately, or like I'll even go the same weekend maybe. So we'll watch it Thursday and I'll watch it again on Sunday or something. Or Tuesday, I'll go cheap. But for this one, I was like, I don't even know. I want to watch it again because it was great, but I'm actually stressed. I don't know if I can sit through it again. Like, I had the opportunity a couple days later to go again, and I was like, no, I think I'll wait a little longer. But not in a bad way, just in a like, it was so good that I just felt so into it the whole time. And I felt like I was in the cockpit, like freaking out also. So,
well, and that is it's a good point too. Is they did a incredible job with the cockpit shots. Because that was, I think, one of my other issues with Top Gun, the original, is that there's not a lot of that. First of all, I understand it's very, very hard to get cockpit shots, and technology is advanced in a way that I think they literally shoved 6 cameras into the cockpits when they had them going up. But I believe the original, a lot of it, from what I remember anyway, is just very kind of like stock Navy footage.
Right.
And so you don't really get a lot of in cockpit. And if you do, you're not seeing out. Because that was the other thing here is you got a lot of kind of like point of view shots.
Yeah.
Where you could see what they would be seeing.
Yeah.
And that's because they were literally in those jets. And then watching the actors take the G's was also really cool. First of all, because again, they're, effectively supermodels, right? Like these people look amazing. And they look really bad when they're taking those G's.
Yeah.
They age like 30 or 40 years right there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of incredible in itself that those actors are willing to, again, let those shots be used. But it's also really cool to see.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can gush about this movie all day. Like, they just did such an incredible job as far as I was concerned.
So did you sign up for the Navy? Like, are you...
They didn't have any booths outside the theater I was at. So otherwise, I would have been right there.
Yeah.
The Air Force was there, and then I laughed at them and said, "You're not even in the movie." And,
this is the Navy.
And the guy was very sad.
Yeah.
No, I live in Canada.
Oh, right.
We don't have a military, or like hardly. I'm so sorry to all of our
Canadian
armed,
military
men and women. Armed. Yeah. What was the armed forces? Is that the
Canadian Armed Forces?
Yeah. I understand that 0 of them watch this show, but if and when that does happen, I am truly sorry.
We know you exist and we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But I will make fun of your recruiters. I am sure you can agree with me on that.
It was just overall, I think, a great film, and I'm happy. I think everyone should watch it. And,
yeah, I agree.
And it's I'm like, maybe not kids, but like 10 years old to 80 years old can watch it. So it's a nice like family film.
Yeah, like you could probably bring kids to this. Honestly, like there's not like blood or anything, and there's and the action is not much different than what you get in a pretty standard Avengers movie. Yeah.
No, I like my 6-year-old niece went, and she was just sort of meh. She wasn't as entertained, I think.
I could see them being bored.
Yeah. Like still fun, but it is loud. Like they're in the planes. That's loud. There are some parts, so I mean, you do have to consider that, not just a plot base, but like the action that's happening. Is that going to be intense?
Yeah, and there is a fair amount of boots on the ground scenes. So that was one of my issues with the first one, is that it seemed they kept going back to this romance that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
But the dramatic scenes in this one that weren't in a cockpit, I felt were really worthwhile. I think they did a way better job with those two, and that the actors that they used were able to sell emotions or had chemistry in a way that I didn't really feel in the first. And again, we go back to, the only people, as far as I was concerned, that really had chemistry in that first movie was Maverick and Goose. Yeah. So, and they sell that here really, really well. Mm-hmm. There's also a really nice, some nice bits with Val Kilmer. That I was quite happy about. It was a nice, touching tribute to not only his character and but just him as a person and as an actor, and it was nice.
Great for his life situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have too much more to add. I feel like I've yelled enough, but if you want to wrap us up at all.
Only thing I wanted to mention, and unfortunately, I've only watched the first 2 episodes, but of Heartstopper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's on Netflix. It's about
It's the British drama, right?
British teenage gay boy in an all boys school.
Oh, okay.
And
Is it based on a book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it
Based
is.
on a book. But the first 2 episodes are just so heartfelt and giddy and like amazing. The soundtrack's amazing, and I don't know, like I need to sit down and watch the rest. I haven't had a lot of time lately. So I sort of pushed it. I watched Stranger Things first, and then
Sure.
So now, but it's honestly the first 2 episodes. Like I don't know how it could get bad from here. Basically,
Oh wow.
Like, I think it's just it's so lovely. So
And anyone big in it?
Olivia Colman is
okay.
one of the parents.
But sorry, the leads are kind of nobodies?
Yeah, I don't think they've, or if they were in something, like they would have been really young children.
Sure.
Nothing that I recognize anyone from so far. So yeah, just Olivia Colman, I think, is the only one that's stood out.
Oh, cool.
But,
and then is it just for teens? Like, you know, I know you tend to, there's some of those movies and shows that you would watch that aren't like explicitly aimed at your demographic, but
no, it is obviously a teen show, I think, but I think it's something that everyone should watch.
Okay.
And could enjoy. Like it's not sex, drugs, and violence, so if that's all you go for, then obviously you're not going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
But it's just, I squeal when I watch the first 2 episodes. Like I'll be sitting there and something will happen and I'll be like, ooh. So sorry if that burst anyone's eardrums, but it is just, it's that feeling. So if you want that feeling, definitely something to check out.
Okay. Good recommendation. And I believe, like you mentioned it, and I think I've heard some good things. I believe I've seen some buzz about it. So I don't think you're alone in this. You know, like it's not like you're just being crazy or something.
No, I have quite a few friends who, have just told me that I am crazy for not having watched all of it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like, how did you only do 2 episodes and then stop? And I was like, I'm busy. So.
All right. Well, given just how long we've seemed to natter on, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So maybe we'll never invite you back. But there's also a chance that this is, you know, what's going to fill seats. So we might see you again.
You keep telling me you'll never see me again. And then here I am.
Yeah. But thanks for coming on, and we'll maybe see you again. There's no way we won't. There's 0% chance. But we'll see everyone else next week. Or sorry, later in the week.